Biggest reaction is, why didn't she do the things that she's complaining about? All of these things that she talked about, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do everything, but she didn't do any of it. She could have done it 3.5 years ago. She could do it tonight by leaving the auditorium and going to Washington, D.C. and closing the border. She doesn't need a bill. I didn't have a bill. I closed the border and...
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. Today, I am going to talk about Black voters. Yes, and some of them were not sure if we're voting for Kamala. I'm definitely not. But I want you to hear from these voters and the reasons that they are giving, plus a little more insight into Kamala Harris herself. But before we get into it, don't forget, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Now let's get into it.
Are the borders secure?
The border is secure.
You're confident this border is secure?
We have a secure border.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law.
All right, so 2 years ago, Kamala Harris is clearly the border czar. And the reporter, and this is not the only reporter, because you remember that interview she had with Lester Holt. And they're looking at her and asking her about the border, and she literally tells this reporter, the border is secure. But we know darn well it wasn't secure. And then she says she wants to implement things into law to secure the border. But you're the reason that it's not secure in the first place. And it's 3.5 years into this thing, into the administration. Let's check out another clip.
The biggest reaction is, why didn't she do the things that she's complaining about? All of these things that she talked about, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do everything. But she didn't do any of it. She could have done it 3.5 years ago. She could do it tonight by leaving the auditorium and going to Washington, D.C. and closing the border. She doesn't need a bill. I didn't have a bill. I closed the border and created the safest border we've ever had in the history of our country. She could have done all of these things, and she could still do them. She's got 4.5, 5 months left. She can go there right now. She can do all of the things, many of the things that she's talking about and complaining about. It was a lot of complaining. She didn't talk about China. She didn't talk about fracking. She didn't talk about crime. She didn't talk about 70% of our people are living in poverty. She didn't talk about housing, really. The trade deficit. She didn't talk about child trafficking that she's allowed to happen because she was the border czar and she presided over the weakest border in the history of our country. It's an invasion. I was there today, as you know, Brett. It's an invasion of our country taking place at our border, our southern border. It's a total invasion. And now it's starting at our northern border also, through Canada. And she didn't.
So everything you're complaining about, Kamala, you could actually do something about it right now. You got a few months left. Do you all think that she's actually going to do something other than complain about Trump and how bad things are, which she helped to create? Now let's take a look at some Chicago voters and whether or not they support Kamala Harris or not, and why.
I think it's the number one issue facing Chicago right now.
Well, definitely the number one issue is the violence in Chicago, the gun violence.
The economy is a big question mark, you know. You go to the grocery store, you know, eggs, bread, just small items are large in price now.
I think for my congregation and for others, it's kind of changing a little bit because so many people don't agree with the policies. And so I think there's definitely growth in my church as far as being more independent in their thinking. And I see that throughout the community as well.
I believe that conservative principles are much better for us as a nation and for us as a people.
Neither side has done really well.
You're not pleased with any side?
No.
Where are you leaning right now when it comes to the presidency?
Probably toward Kamala.
I'm undecided.
I'm going to say at this point, I don't know who's best because we haven't really heard their plans or intentions, how to solve the issues.
My vote would be for Kamala Harris. It'd be historical for one, first black female president.
Does that put extra weight on your decision this election time?
Absolutely not.
I would say
None at all.
No.
Yes, there's definitely a lot more pressure.
I want to hear more about what she's going to do, because being black is one thing, but we've had black people to disappoint us. Being a woman is one thing, but we've had women to disappoint us. So I think the main theme is, what is your platform?
My thing is, it's about time for the black community to start looking at the Republican Party. The Republican Party is pro-family, they're pro-business, they're pro-education, school choice. I mean, come on. It's time to do something a little bit different.
I hate identity politics. The fact that people believe that you have to vote for a person just because they're black or just because they're a woman is totally opposite of what we need to be doing. We need to make sure that we vote for people that align with our policies.
Yes, and that was Lawrence Jones again of Fox. He does the best interviews. I just love him. I've done several videos with him on it. But you saw where the person, every time someone says they're going to vote for Kamala, they mention the fact that she's black, female. It will be historic. That was what Ricky Smiley was whining about on his radio show. Come on, man. We can't even agree on a bucket of chicken. It's going to be one person that wants to eat a hot dog. We will be on MLK Day. A black Delta woman is going to swear in a black female, AKA, who cares? Identity politics sucks, okay? You heard the man here. He said it's time out for identity politics. It's not right just to vote for someone just because they are a black person or female. And the lady said, we've had black people to disappoint us. We've had women to disappoint us. We got to look at their policies, okay? Every time someone supports Kamala, it'll be historic. Is it going to be historic and nice feeling when you still got to pay all that money for gas and food? Is it going to have that nice, warm, and fuzzy feeling when you have to do that and you have to put $4 or $5 per gallon in your gas tank? This woman isn't for fracking. She's not for being energy independent. So those costs will remain high. She's not for tariffs on imports. So we have to look at the fact that she's in office right now and she hadn't done anything. The very thing. And then she wants to copy Donald Trump's no tax on tips. Now you know she's not right. That's Kamala Harris for you. That's Kamala Harris. And I even was looking at a video talking about, the fact that she doesn't really prepare. She doesn't read up on anything. And I said this in the video. I said, I know she has to be smart because she went to law school. But when you ask her questions, she's like totally unprepared. Like when she said that North Korea is in an alliance with America, that's not true. And when she was asked about the border, well, I haven't been to Europe. I don't understand the point of your question. And then she talks about, I'm standing here on the western flank. She was in Poland. She's just not reading up, and she's just been thrown into a position. She's not well read or well versed, because when I look at it closer, she's not prepared. Maybe it was because she didn't have to be prepared, because she was going to be given that anyway. She's going to have to do better. Well, she can continue to do bad for all I care, because I don't want her to win anyway. But we see that based on what she said from 2022 to 2024, how she was talking about the border is secure and then now is not secure, and that she's going to do something about it. Well, you've been in office all this time. Why haven't you done anything about it already? These are facts. Okay. She's not for free speech, because she comes from that political machine that's very controlling, and you know what I mean? So we don't want that in America. We want freedom. And one of the men said, the Republican Party, it's time for us to look at that. They're pro-family, pro-school choice, pro-business. That's the Republican Party. And we have conservative values, but we don't vote that way because we've been made to believe that the other side is racist. One of the things that you need to realize is one of the tactics of people that have a certain political view is to blame the other side for the very things that you're doing. And that's what the Democrats do. They blame Republicans for what they do. And they are over the media. So remember that when you go in here and thinking, well, it looks like, they're over big tech, big pharma, all of that. And remember that RFK Jr. just endorsed Trump. And you know what he said. He said it's because the Democrat Party is a party of war and the party of no free speech and all of the horrible things. Big pharma. So they like to use identity politics and throw around the word racism, which if I hear that word one more time, I tell you, I just don't know what I'm going to do. But based on this, what will you all do? What will you do? Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching. You all be blessed. Love God, your families, these United States of America. And as I always say, march on, warriors.